Struggle, 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 the struggle, 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 the struggle, 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 the struggle, 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 struggle you, the struggle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to StruggleU. We're here talking to Professor Brown from Florida State College of Jacksonville. Welcome, Mr. Brown. How are you today?
Very, very well, Jack. Thank you.
So, today we're going to talk about a little bit about your past experiences in college.
Okay.
And hopefully about one or two of your student struggles that happened today and how they compare, okay?
Okay, sure.
So, how long have you been teaching?
I have been teaching for about 8 years now.
What have you taught?
What have I taught? Mostly digital video and digital media courses for the most part. So everything from cinematography to video storytelling, some screenwriting, motion graphics, that sort of thing, with some journalism classes sprinkled in there.
That's awesome. How did you get into that?
Oh, geez. I studied photojournalism as a student and as an undergrad. Well, let me back up a little bit. So I actually went to this school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, back when it was called FSCJ. And
So like 2 years ago.
yeah, no, it was longer than that. I think they changed the name 6 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I was in high school then.
Yeah.
So
no,
not too long.
No, not too long. But trying to think, it was 14, 15 years ago when I
Okay.
was a student here. Long story short, I got sick of high school, couldn't stand high school. My parents made a deal with me that if I got good grades,
Mm-hmm.
that I could get my GED and go to
And you're done.
a community college, and that's what I did. So I
That
came
is
here
awesome.
at 16, got my AA, and then was able to transfer to University of Florida. Studied photojournalism, traveled for a year or so, did some freelancing, then went back to school and got my master's in documentary film production.
Oh my gosh.
So-
That's so young to start college though.
I guess it was. It felt so natural. It was, high school just felt so confining, and it felt like I wasn't learning, like I
Right.
was going through the paces. And
That's
what
understandable.
what this place really did is it gave me an option. It gave me the opportunity to go ahead and start my life. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it was ideal.
Starting college so young.
Yeah.
What are a few of the struggles that you went through?
Some of the struggles.
Like what is the one main thing that if you can go back to your younger self in college, you would love to help them with? Not just what to them to know,
Yeah.
but something to actually help them with.
That was a really good question. See, I didn't know it was going to be a younger version of myself. I was going to get to help myself back in time. Probably sense of fashion, help me with my fashion sense. I mean, I still could use help with that, but that's a tough one.
I mean,
I
hey,
don't
that is
know.
a
I
pretty
don't
good
know.
one because
Yeah.
we've been talking about it for a little bit.
Yeah, we have. What would I have helped myself with? I don't know, but I mean, if I can pivot off that, I think one thing that we all struggle with is kind of like, especially in college, is kind of like finding how is this material that I'm learning going to actually apply? How am I going to apply this to my life? Like,
Why do I care and why should I make myself care?
right. Like, how is this relevant
Mm-hmm.
to where I want to be? And I think that's really important, and that's something that students struggle with, and not just students, like everybody struggles with it, but the difference is like when you are in college, it's still that time when you're developing and there's still possibilities,
Right.
whereas once you get the job and you get the house and you get the family, there's not as much potential. It's more about like, this is your path.
Mm-hmm.
So right now everybody's picking their path. And I think it's really important to do that. That's hard work. It's not necessarily easy, but I think it's important to struggle with who am I? What is my place in the world? Like,
Exactly.
what do I want to do? And I don't think everybody does that. I would like to see more of that, like more really kind of mulling over on like what do I want to do with this stuff?
Exactly. We've had a few strugglers in the past come to us and say they've been on the same track since high school, same path, technology major, biomed major, and now they're getting towards the end of their college experience and they don't want to do it anymore. I started off in computer science and now in public relations. Big change.
For sure.
But I feel like the changes that I've gone through have led me to a path where I can enjoy my future way more than I would have.
Well, that's beautiful, and I mean, a lot of the things that you learned before will probably
Continue to help.
continue
Yes.
to help in ways that you couldn't have never have foreseen, you know. And I think one thing that's really important when students are struggling with that, like, who am I, what do I want to be when I grow up, question, is what really excites you? What are you excited, you know, when you wake up, what are you excited to do? You know, what would you be doing if you weren't in class? And I think all of these are, you know, hints. They're kind of your GPS of like where you might want to think about focusing your energies, because this is the time. This is the
Definitely
time
is.
to do that.
So,
Yeah.
talking about college kids now, what is one struggle that you see often among your students?
Well, it's really hard to generalize my students. I think that's important to say. Our students are so different, so varied, and you know, we say kids, but some of them are, you know, very non-traditional, you know, grandparents even. So I mean, it's really hard to put them all in kind of one category.
One box.
But you know, I do think that that's something that everybody struggles with when they're a student, is the idea of like, okay, you're teaching me this, but at the end of the day, I still have to go to work, I still have to do laundry, I still have this list of stuff. And so like, how does that apply? Like, am I just learning this as an exercise, or am I actually going to use this? And I think that, you know, time is short, attention spans are short, and that's something that I think it's a natural struggle, but I think everybody does when they're in a class. They're constantly, you know, looking at it from the perspective of like, do I need to know this? And if so, why? And
Yes.
how is this going to help me? You know,
And what's a bare minimum amount of energy I can put in to get past?
Yeah, and I do think there's that level. So you know, I think it's important that that students find a way to connect it to their real life experiences, and they see that it's not just like, you know, mental calisthenics. It's actually relevant.
Right.
That this is going to affect them in this way, you know. So
Okay. Is there any specific problem that you see that you could feel, if you talk to that student to the side, you could help them with that specific problem because of maybe your past experiences?
I think, you know, everybody's kind of struggling with everybody's got their own struggles.
Oh yes.
Everybody's got, you know, their own thing they're wrestling with, and so it would really depend on the student. I mean, I have office hours, and if I see a student struggling with something, I try to reach out and help them if I can.
Okay.
They got to show up, though.
Oh yes.
You know,
And
there's only
bare minimum takes advantage of office hours.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So I think it's important that students do take advantage of the resources that are available to them, and to give them, you know, the best experience possible.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
The big question. Being so close to your own college experience, do you find that you lean more towards an understanding, compassionate view where you're looking at your college students now? Or are you strict by the book, I went through it, so you should be able to get through it too?
I guess it depends on the day, right?
Yes.
But I try to, you know, have empathy with the students, but at the same time, the beauty of it is it's all spelled out in the syllabus. So, you know, I mean, one thing I can say is, you know, this has happened this semester. Certain things happen with a class, and maybe there's one assignment that's like looming over everybody that we just don't have time for. And I try to recognize that and say, okay, you know, when you're developing a syllabus, you're like in a vacuum. And you're like, in an ideal world, we'll go through all this and we'll have time for, you know, these 8 projects and everything. And then when you get down to it, there might be one that just isn't fitting. And so I try to be flexible enough to recognize when something's not working, and working with the students in that regard, you know, and not. So when you say by the book, I mean, the syllabus is our contract, but I try to be understanding if, for whatever reason, something needs to be changed, and work with them in that level. But at the same time, you know, I think it's important that there's academic rigor, and that you don't just take every student excuse that comes through the door, and
Yeah.
you know as well as I do.
Oh, yes.
Certain students will take advantage if they feel like they can. So I think it's important that you do create an environment where they feel comfortable talking to you about or expressing an issue they might be having, but at the same time holding everybody to a high standard.
So that leads us to,
Yeah.
do you have a magic number of the amount of times you'll accept, oh, my dog ate my homework, or, oh, I'm so sorry, my grandpa died?
So I heard a story. I'm still trying to figure out how it happened, but I heard that there was one semester where, and this didn't happen to me, it happened to one of our program managers. He was telling me that he had a student who lost I think it was 3 grandmothers in a semester.
I mean,
Which, with non-traditional families this day and
Yes.
age, it could happen.
it can.
But,
But
the
that's
odds
a lot.
are, yeah,
That
that's
is
a lot of
in one
grandmothers.
semester.
Yeah.
Like all 3. I'm
don't
sorry.
mean to
they're gone.
laugh, yeah. But it wasn't all like the same day. It was like
Yeah.
she kept using that,
I mean,
So, I haven't ever had the dog ate my homework thing. I know that's a classic. I've never had that
that's
one.
good.
There's flat tires tend to happen a lot towards final weeks. Grandparents do, for whatever reason, tend to pass away towards finals. I don't know why. It's just
it's
something-
cosmic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, something about the way things align there. But at the end of the day, I try to give students the benefit of the doubt. I mean, what am I going to do? I don't have
Right.
time to be a private investigator on each
Yeah.
one of these things. And most of the time, I do feel like students are straightforward, and you can tell usually when people are, truly dealing with something, or when. The other thing I would say is these sorts of things don't tend to happen as like a one-off. So like the student that has like my guinea pig ate my homework type of deal, you could probably see a pattern throughout your semester or years working with that student that you're like, oh yeah, the guinea pig. Here comes the guinea pig excuse.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like other students, that they have a, history of being honest and getting the work done, and then something happens unexpected, and so.
And you're kind of like, even if it's not true, I'll side with you on this one.
Well, I mean, usually you can tell, I would say, and there's, yeah. It's a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tough one. I think it's important. I think excuses are usually a waste of time. I mean, I would think, most experiences tell you, like, you don't need to give an excuse. You can apologize, you can ask for an extension, but the
Mhm.
excuse is kind of like,
It's kind of why.
yeah, it doesn't
Because
doesn't
from my
really help.
experience, all my professors, you kind of just say, I'm sorry, I'm going to need that extension, or I'm sorry, it's going to be late.
Yeah,
Most of the time, they're going to work with you. If you say, I'm sorry, my grandpa died, can I get an extension? They're like, I don't care, sorry, but I have to be fair to everybody.
right. Well, yeah, and I don't think when I have had students plagiarize, or I've caught students in lies, and I feel like that changes everything.
Yes.
Like once a student has proven that they lie, and it's verifiable that they've lied, then it's really hard to give them the benefit of the doubt going forward.
Exactly.
It's really hard, especially in this industry. I think it's important that your integrity's
Is up to par all
yeah,
times.
all times, and it's so when students do lie and then get caught in it, I think it's just the risks are too great.
Oh,
It's just
yes.
not worth it. It's better to just be straightforward, and if you miss an assignment, take the penalty and late points and
And just keep on going.
keep on going. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a few of our past episodes now.
Okay.
Group projects. How do you feel about them using in your class?
I think it depends on the class. They're good and bad, of course. I think it's important to learn how to work with people, specifically with video and film, and media in general. You're going to be working with people.
Oh, yes.
So I think it's important to be able to navigate that terrain and deal with different types of personalities and all that stuff.
But what happens when one of the team members doesn't respond to the emails or texts or phone calls and doesn't show up to class?
Then you continue on without them. They miss the boat. You know,
Okay.
you get the project's got to get done. You keep working with the team members that are there, and then when you do your presentation, if that team member wants to act like they did something that, you know, I think it'll be pretty obvious. You know, people are not stupid.
Yes.
It's obvious to the class and the professor what's going on there. I think maybe there's certain instances where it's worth talking to the professor, but I think for the most part, you know, you got to think about why is everybody here? Is it for the piece of paper? Is it for the diploma? Is it for the grades? Or is it more than that? I mean, I know that's a big part of it, but
To get the knowledge
and to get the experiences and to be able to put these things on your resume and your portfolio, and if you're a part of a group and you don't deliver, then, you know, it's that cliche, you're really cheating yourself.
Right.
I mean, you're not learning these skills, you're not going to be as hireable. And I think it's important to remember that your peers are your network. These are your this is your professional network. In 5 years, almost everybody in there is going to be who you're dealing with in this industry.
Exactly.
On some level, hopefully, if everything goes to plan, and they're not likely to forget the time that you've left them out the creek without a paddle.
Exactly.
You know, so just, you know, what may seem like a quick win by not being part of this group might haunt you for years to come, you know, so it's important to, you know, keep a long-term view of the group project.
And so what are your suggestions for strugglers that are dealing with time management issues?
Well, stop playing video games.
Now, that's a pretty hard one.
Yeah, if you're saying struggling with time management issues and you play video games, then just stop it. You're not struggling, you're choosing to not work. Okay.
But then your heart, doesn't connect. You have to play at least a little bit of video games for like 20 hours of the day. Then you can go do your homework for an hour.
Okay. Well, that sounds like the time management issue right there. Your math is a little off, you know, so maybe, you know, flipping the ratios a little bit, you know, video games, and save whatever your distraction is, you know, video games, social media, whatever it is, save that as a reward. So, you know, the idea that you're going to work a certain amount of hours and then you get whatever your distraction is, instead of like getting distracted right off the bat. Okay. And I think another thing that's important is to be aware of when you're at your best. So, you know, if you're a morning person, you know that like after 10 o'clock your brain cuts off and you're not going to be able to write that paper, right? So Don't even try. Like if you're trying to write a paper at 10:45 at night and getting frustrated, you know it's not going to work. So think about when does your natural rhythms, when would be the ideal time to get this stuff done, and then that's when you need to set aside, you know. And I think most of us could always usually get up earlier.
In an ideal world, yes. But noon is such a great time to wake up. Right. It's a wonderful time. The birds are shining, the sun is high in the sky. Wow, why do you want to wake up before noon?
Yeah. Enjoy it while you can. Enjoy it while you can.
Oh, definitely. Well, it was nice having you, Mr. Brown. It was nice talking to you guys, everyone. And once again, StruggleU. Hashtag what's your struggle? Hashtag college struggles. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hashtag good night.